guess at the end of the day, every kid has got to start off with a dream. And then secondly, you've got to want to do it. There's no reason why...
My dear child, take this torch of peace and hope from Kiribati, so that it may light the whole world.
wage up the pole. 21、20、19、18、17、16、15、14、13、12、11、あと10秒。
Well, we're now visiting South Korea. And it's showtime, as you've just heard. We've just seen Japan and singer Maki Oguru, who was actually celebrating her birthday on the 31st of December. What a wonderful way to bring in her birthday. And she's one of a very popular singer in Japan.
President. Dan zal zo president Jiang Zemin een toespraak houden. Met aftellen. Aftellen tot 12 uur. Uur in Peking, de hoofdstad van China. En ook in Peking is vuurwerk. Ook in China is de nieuwe eeuw, nieuwe millennium ingegaan. alle symboliek. En de president die zijn mensen goeiedag zegt en een gelukkig nieuwjaar wenst.
Coming to midnight in Indonesia on 2000 today. The dance you are watching portrays relief, depicting the law of karma, blaming worthy deeds with their responding punishments and praising worthy activities with their subsequent rewards. These scenes are coming from the largest Buddhist temple in the world, and one that goes back to the first, not the second, but the first millennium. It was built between 780 and 823 AD in the Sanyana dynasty.
Yo sahasang sahasena sanggame manuse jine ekang caje yamata sawe
Watching 2000 today, good to be back. It's almost 5 a.m. and almost midnight in Antarctica, and we're ready to cross to the southern continent again, this time to Ross Belcher and Dr. Knowles Carey at Australia's Antarctic Station at Moreton. Can you hear me, Ross? Can you hear me, Knowles?
Yes, George, hear you well.
Yes, indeed.
I should point out to people that we're actually talking by the most amazing piece of technology. I guess we can say this is a bit of video conferencing rather than satellite television. What's it like to be where you are a couple of minutes before midnight your time, and all I can see is normal daylight?
Well, that's what it's like, George. You get about daylight for about 4 weeks here at this time of year, so it's a long day for us here, mate.
I guess I should say to you, well, it's a silly question to ask you, but did you have a white Christmas?
Well, if you can see behind us, we certainly did, and all around us, we're on the rock here, but it's white everywhere else.
Who are your mates, by the way, the strange characters I can see behind you?
That's some local wildlife around the place. Otherwise, that's the 52nd Inari, the people of the wintering and summering cruise down in Mawson this year, 99-2000.
Tell them they didn't have to dress up for us. You didn't, yes.
Yes, fairly normal.
We're dressing up after the show.
Yeah, it's an amazing life that you've been leading there. How long have you guys been there? Have you all been there the same length of time?
21 of us have been here for about 13 months. We came in at the 1st of December last year. So it's, 13 months now, and it'll be another month or so before we get back home.
Is it as strange as we would expect? I mean, leading this isolated existence at the bottom of the earth.
Well, that's the key to it. I think the isolation is the word for it. It's probably stranger than you think, George, but as you look around you, but it's all pretty good stuff.
Yep. It's about 30 seconds to your midnight, by the way, so we better keep that in the back of our mind. Knowles, very quickly, in about 20 seconds if you can, so we don't miss the midnight. Midnight in Mawson's got a ring to it, hasn't it? What the hell are you doing there? Knowles, leave it there. Knowles, leave it there. We'll come back to it. 1 second. Midnight in Mawson, guys. Midnight in Mawson as we speak. I don't know how to tell you this. Another silly question. Ross. No problem keeping the champagne cold, I imagine.
What was that again, George?
I say another...
Too much noise around here.
Another typically stupid question. I don't imagine you're having any trouble keeping the champagne cold.
Not a lot.
Knowles, let's
You're
just...
having trouble keeping it in the glass, though.
Well, that's your problem. We won't go into that. Cheers. Cheers. Yes, indeed. Cheers. Knowles, let's get serious if we must. This could go on forever. Knowles, let's get serious for a moment if we must. The same question I asked you a few seconds before midnight. What the hell are you doing there? Or are you just sort of running away from ex-wives?
I don't think I'll answer that because I probably wouldn't live long afterwards, but we do have a science program down here, quite an extensive one, as you'd imagine, and we have our observatory functions. Meteorology is fairly important, and they've done a hell of a good job with tonight, as you can see. It's absolutely beautiful weather.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, it's above freezing. It's 2 degrees and...
tropical.
Very little wind. Absolutely, as you can tell. We have trouble keeping the champagne cool. But apart from that, we have a very fine geology program. The guys have just been in the field and have returned for this event. They're interested in the relationship between Australia, India and Antarctica, in the Gondwana situation. And I've got a program working on Adelie penguins, and my particular interest is whether or not the harvest of their food, krill, will actually affect the penguins.
Yeah, tell us about krill. Tell us about krill,
This keeps us all
Knowles.
fairly busy over summer.
I can imagine. Over summer. Tell us about krill, because it's a word that we all know, but I'm damned if I know really what its significance is, other than the fact that it's food.
Okay. It's cliched now, but it's a small shrimp-like crustacean present in a very, very large amount in the Southern Ocean. It's the food for whales and seals, seabirds and so on. But man now has got into the food chain and is harvesting at this and using krill for food, byproducts from krill for making paints, going into pharmaceuticals and all sorts of other things. So it's of great interest to us to know what effect the harvest will have because it helps mankind, but it also will affect the seals, seabirds and so on that feed on it.
Is this something that has to be done in Antarctica? It's not something you can do anywhere else?
No, indeed, we have to do it down here. Krill is found in the Southern Ocean, very close to the Antarctic continent, and very close to the Antarctic continent, and the fishing boats actually come right up to the edge of the sea ice. Now, our penguins here, for instance, swim or walk over the sea ice some 80 to 100 kilometres to actually feed on the krill and bring it back. They do a round trip of about 24 to 36 hours from leaving their colony, getting the krill, coming back and feeding their chicks. So it's quite a remarkable thing, and obviously we can only do it down here.
Yeah, and Knowles, in the context of this entire broadcast and today, how significant is the scientific work that you guys are up to there at Mawson for the 21st century, as it were?
Well, I think it's extremely important. We know the big questions now, I think. I heard them mentioned before. Global change, climate change. We have problems with the management of fisheries, the conservation of Antarctic wildlife, the protection of the Antarctic environment and so on. Now these problems we know about, and as we go into the next century we'll be tackling these, I think, and it's going to be a technologically driven approach to it all. What I hope at the end of it is we get some answers and some directions for the future, and hopefully the political will to put this into place.
Yep. Do you, Ross, you're still there, I imagine? Yes, I can see you.
Yeah, mate.
How far are you from your nearest neighbours, Ross?
Oh, we're only about 600 kilometres from the other Australian station
distance
to the east of us. That's Davis Station.
Spitting distance.
Yeah, well, some of us have been there.
So I don't suppose you've had many.
Nice little in-joke there, George.
I don't suppose you've had many. I don't suppose you've had many people popping in for a drink then.
No, not a lot, but as I said, it does happen, mate.
Sorry, I didn't catch that, Ross.
No, we do have helicopter access to Davis occasionally, and it does happen, but not very often, George.
Well, it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you. We have to leave you now to go to Germany. That's the sort of job that we're doing. But Happy New Year, all the best, and when you get back to Australia, I'm sure families and friends will be looking forward very much to seeing you. When you come back, what, in February sometime?
Yeah, late January, February.
Well, all the best, and can we have a rousing Happy New Year, Happy Millennium from the lot of you? Woo! Happy New Year! Why did I ask that? Well, that was amazing fun. That's the Australians at Mawson in Antarctica, and midnight, as you could see, in broad daylight, I would have thought, Deb. And next up, as the crow flies across India, Iran, Turkey and Hungary, we're going to Germany, where we're about to hear one of the best-known compositions by one of German-speaking world's most famous composers. It's Beethoven's Ode to Joy. It was Beethoven's Ode to Joy in Leipzig in Germany.
Beautiful.
I mean, is there any we haven't been here? Well, we know there's
yeah,
somewhere we
we've got
haven't
a
been.
few
Because
to
still
go
about, what, about a third of the world to go to?
That's right, yeah.
About a third of the globe?
Through till 8:30 tonight, Eastern Standard Time.
You're leaving us?
I'm leaving, yes. I'm heading to Melbourne this afternoon. First trip to Melbourne ever, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And then back to Perth on Monday.
While I was attempting to get a few minutes sleep, well, I said earlier, talking to Maxine, the whole thing seemed to have been hinged on music and dance.
Yes.
I mean, was there much in your death watch?
Yes, there was. Yeah, I got the night shift. Yes, there was. There was a lot of beautiful music from around, especially New Zealand. It's, you know, such a musical area.
Yeah. I missed Kiri, Madam Kiri.
Superb, absolutely superb.
Yeah, she's very special, isn't she?
A lot of from Kiribati as well. We had the wonderful dances.
I think that's before I nodded off. With a lot of lovely stuff on the beach at Kiribati.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful, and also at Gisborne, which of course is the point I think where Captain Cook landed initially in New Zealand. And we were just talking earlier about how it's been so difficult to bring these events from such remote places as the Chatham Islands, Mount Hitarangi, these places which are so remote that they've basically had to get the New Zealand Army in to help set up this broadcast.
I think that the technology, not just the television technology, but the general logistics, trying to say logistics at 5 o'clock in the morning after half an hour's sleep.
And two bottles of
I don't think people would realise, and at some stage during the day we'll probably tell them exactly what might have been involved in some of these things.
Yeah.
Incredible stuff.
And there is a video available from ABC Television of all of this.
Yeah.
And indeed, there will be a CD of all the wonderful music we've heard over the last sort of, what have we been on air, how long now? 12 hours, something like that?
60 satellites have been employed, would you believe, in this whole thing, which you've probably told people yourself at some stage this evening. Yeah.
And I mean, it's... The Y2K thing has been a bit of a fizzer, except for that incident in Japan. You would have been asleep. There was an alarm went off at a nuclear plant. No leaks or anything. It's been fixed up, but they reckon it was Y2K.
It's a little bit like going to New York and not getting mugged, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we thought the end of the world was approaching.
That's right. Well, thank
Deb,
God it hasn't.
Thank you very much for your assistance.
Thank you,
I'm
George.
glad you had a good time. You won't have a New Year's Eve like this again.
Never again. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, actually, we're going to part of your part of the world.
That's right, where I'm from.
Have you told people of your origins, by the way?
Not on
We should
national
reveal
television.
We
but,
should reveal it. Tell them.
Perth people know. Well, I was born in Nairobi, Kenya, and grew up in Northern Ireland, so it was quite a hop.
Doesn't everybody?
Yeah, exactly.
Born in
I mean,
Nairobi.
it's standard, isn't it, really?
Grew up in
Northern Ireland, not far from where we're crossing to next, Derry. I was actually north of that on the north coast, a little town called Port Stewart, which is right on the north coast. You've probably been there, the Giant's Causeway. You've been.
Yes, I know.
I was not far from there, and lived there for about 16 years before coming to Australia. And I mean, it's still a beautiful part of the world, Ireland, and hopefully now we're heading towards peace.
Yes, indeed. I'm looking forward very much. I mean, I've been to Northern Ireland a lot.
Yes.
For all the obvious journalistic reasons, and I'm looking forward to this piece because I think what they've got prepared for us, from what I hear, is very symbolic of what's going on there.
Even last time I was back in 93, Belfast, suddenly there were no barriers. You could just walk into the centre of the city and you weren't searched, and it was quite amazing.
Yeah. Deb, thank you.
Thanks,
again.
George.
I think they're telling
Enjoy
me
the rest
to
of the morning.
get us to Northern Ireland.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Thank you.
Safe trip.
Thanks.
The first Australian dawn in Tasmania, by the way, is approaching in the next few minutes. But right now to Derry in the United Kingdom, the second biggest city in Northern Ireland. Derry's had a troubled past, as you know. About 30,000 people killed in Northern Ireland overall over the years of the Troubles. The Protestant British and Catholic Irish have for centuries sharing Derry. Countless people have died, as I say, because of the dreadful sectarian violence there. However, as Northern Ireland moves into the new millennium, there's a real hope of lasting peace. Ireland now looks like it could be settling down. The peace accord seems to be working. The Protestants and the Catholics now, of course, in that divided land for so long, beginning to share government, something we wouldn't have believed would have happened. Had I said that to you a decade ago, you would have had me certified. But now in Derry, with the performance of Danny Boy, and the three Irish tenors are leading the symbolic musical union from Dublin, the north and the south, together via Danny Boy in the new millennium.
Welcome to Derry, Ireland's city of song. On the eve of this new millennium, the voices of Derry and Dublin unite for 2 billion viewers around the world to sing one of the best-known songs from this island, Danny Boy.
Absolutely marvellous. Danny Boy, sung both in the north and the south of Ireland simultaneously. I actually saw a quick shot there of John Hume, the Nobel Peace Prize winner. And if you'd like a little bit of journalistic opinion at this point, I suspect without that man, who they did a cutaway of, a very normal-looking Irishman, without that guy, there would be no possibility of peace in Northern Ireland. An amazing man, one of the most amazing human beings I've ever met. Danny Boy, I think, is probably also one of the most amazing songs ever, and to help me with this, just the right person, at the right time. She always pops in about 5:20 in the morning. Andrea Stretton,
Hello, George.
ABC Arts presenter. Tell me, I mean, I was thinking while I was listening to that, and what a wonderful, wonderful rendition with the tenors and the choir.
Beautiful. Simultaneously
in Derry and Dublin. Is Danny Boy the best-known piece of English-speaking music in the world?
I suppose it's one of them. I mean, in Ireland, of course, it's like an unofficial
national anthem for
Yeah,
sure, but
yeah.
as you say, it's got that melancholic undertow. I would say in Australia,
It does,
certainly
a melancholic undertow. Thank you. I wouldn't have thought of it.
But in actual fact, it makes you feel better. That's
It
what
does,
melancholy is
doesn't
about. It's not about making you feel endlessly sad. It's about having hope and sadness together.
Yes.
And Waltzing Matilda's a bit the same, you know. People sing
It
Waltzing
is.
Matilda, but if you read the words,
Yeah.
it's tragic. But if you sing it, it sounds quite uplifting.
But I got a lump in the throat then, listen to
Yeah,
Danny
it's
Boy. I
very
think it's because
beautiful.
of the significance and the situation that they've found themselves in and now they're in. I mean, it seemed totally appropriate.
Yes, yes. I think it must be wonderful for them, the people singing in Derry and in Dublin, to know that they're singing together.
Yes,
as well.
I heard when I was in London a couple of months ago at the preparations for this 2000 Today broadcast, that Danny Boy was the song that they all agreed, the Irish, on both sides of what they will disregard as a border, that Danny Boy was the only thing that they could sing and feel as though it was totally Irish.
Yes, you know, Elvis Presley and Judy Garland and even our own Percy Granger, our composer, all did renditions of that song. Everyone wants to do it.
Yes, they do. We've got to get you involved in the
And I think, yes, and I think now we're going to very soon come to dawn on Mount Wellington in Hobart. But first of all, New Year's resolutions from some Tasmanian students.
Terrific.
At the end of a millennium, or end of any year, we do special things, and we have what are called resolutions often. So can someone tell me a bit about what a resolution is?
Because you could set yourself a personal goal, and you achieve that goal, other people will follow, and that's how you sort of
Don't forget,
prevent
the determination to do something in the future, not just an idea. So we're going to be focusing in this project on not just yourselves, but on 4 areas where we're going to explore resolutions. And those 4 areas are...
Is ABC 2000, the celebration of the millennium. Brought to you by Toyota, taking you into the new millennium. And by AccuView contact lenses, vision for the new millennium. Please.
lined up here waiting for the fireworks. As soon as it's 12 o'clock, there's a barge out there that the Taj Mahal Hotel, which is right here, world-famous hotel, has supplied. It's going to greet the folks, and then there are going to be huge fireworks. This, by the way, is a subdued crowd. This country is officially in mourning for the death of the late president, Sharma. But take a look, not very subdued. Lots of other parties going on around India. Down the beach in Goa, huge international party. Palaces in Rajasthan. But right here we have the folks out in the public square waiting to celebrate. Peter?
Well, Lynn, this is now a nuclear nation as well, and as we said, about to become the world's most populous nation, perhaps sometimes in the next 50, the world's largest parliamentary democracy. There must be a tremendous sense of confidence there in many respects tonight.
You know, there is great hope and a lot of wishes here, but interestingly, wishes for ordinary things. The newspaper asked people what their wild wishes were. They said they want water to come out of the taps. They want people to be fed. A very sobering thought, even at an exciting moment like this.